Hey everybody, welcome to Cape Fear Collectibles. Today we're going to be doing a draft school video, which is part of a series we're going to be doing to try to help players that are either new to draft or looking to get into draft. Just going over um, the reasons why we pick certain cards, trying to get in a certain lane, finding out the lane that's best for the seat that you're in. Um, and then going over the deck building process after the draft is over. Um, Today we're doing a Zendikar Rising Premier Draft Best of One. And as you can see in pack one, we've got Ashaya, Soul of the Wild. That's definitely a great card to build around and a good first pick. Um, Generally, with Ashaya, you want to be in a landfall archetype deck, as all the creatures enter as lands, so you get those landfall triggers. Um, the rest of the pack, there are some good cards. Vanquish the Weak's is strong. Removal, and removal is always good in limited, but you definitely want to go with the best card in the pack, and that would be Ashaya. Skyclave Geopede is good for the landfall, especially green red. That probably won't come back around, but we're definitely going to take a Shia. There's also green white landfall is the other landfall archetype that's generally best, the best colors for that archetype. And we get a fearless fledgling that is another landfall creature, and it fits within the green white archetype for landfall. Um, there are some other notable cards. Relic Vial is great if you were going to try to get into clerics, but we haven't really seen any great cleric payoffs in the first two packs, nor in this one. So we're definitely going to get Fearless Fledgling. If you can get that out turn two, that can definitely take over the game as it gets evasion with the flying. As you can see, Royal Eruption 2 is a very good removal, and it's in red, which would go well with the red green archetype. But Fearless Fledgling is just a very powerful card and can take over the game very quickly. So we're gonna go with that. Royal Eruption probably won't wheel. We'd be looking to wheel either probably the Visionary if that would come back around, but I would be surprised if that did. And since I know that it didn't come around because we recorded this before. Now we have Kazandu Stomper is good with the landfall deck as it allows you to pick up those double-faced land cards after you play them later in the game, so you get the value back out of those. Shepherd of Heroes is just a good card in general if you're going to be in white. It's a 3/4 flyer with 5 with a little upside of the gaining life. We aren't going to be probably focused too much on party though, so at most we might gain 4 life if we have one other creature with party, but I would be surprised if we would have any more than that. Um, uh, Besides that, there are some. The Relic Amulet coming around kind of shows that possibly nobody's in a like blue red mages deck. Possibly, that's a good pick if you were thinking that that seat was open. All right, so we get another Vanquish the Weak comes around, so that kind of shows that black might be open, but we're pretty already trying to get this uh, white green deck to come to fruition because of Ashaya and the Fearless Fledgling, which are two really great cards. Um, there is a Scorch Rider that you could pick up in the case that we do end up wanting to go red instead, or splash for red. Thoughtless Survivor is just not that impactful of a card, especially in our archetype that we're trying to build. So we'll probably pass on that and just go with the Scorch Rider, and just in case that we do end up doing anything in red. We get another Shepherd of Heroes. That kind of indicates that the cleric deck might possibly be open since two of those came around, and there's also another cleric. Reclaim the Waste is great for the landfall, and it also allows us to fix if we do end up playing red. Um, and Inordinate, or I can't remember. The Rage card isn't really anything that we're worried about at this point because we're not even sure that we're going to be in red. Um, but yeah, Landfall is in green white. Um, would be a good spot. All right, we get a Kalini ambush. That's a great double face card. It's a good removal, and if we do play it as a land, if we end up getting the Stomper, we can pick that back up and use it later in the game. Scale the Heights is also great for landfall, I think, as it allows you to play an extra land if you do have indeed have that. Um, the ambush coming this late definitely lets me think that green might be open to some degree, and that's one of the big things about draft is you want to see what you're getting past to kind of try to figure out what your opponents are playing and be able to pick the correct archetype for your seat. Um, Gazille's Fury coming around pretty late, especially for a double face card. It's good removal, and the fact that it deals damage to any target can allow you to finish the game after an attack with that. Um, it also helps enable splashing for red if we do end up doing that. Um, but as of right now, we don't have a real incentive to do anything in red. And the Marasa Root Grazer coming to us. That will definitely clinch us being in the green white archetype landfall. Um, we didn't know that was coming, but that definitely is a great payoff. Green seems to be open, so Kazandu Stomper would be reasonable to come back around, and that would be a great pickup for our deck. But we're definitely going to get this Root Grazer and probably primarily focus on um, the white-green archetype landfall deck. The Blight Braid is good pickup. It's an early play. It's good for slowing the game down if you're behind. Just having that out to defend. It also works well with the fight cards. And the Dauntless Survivor, we just grab that just to to still signal that green is not open. And there's a Kazandu Stomper. We'll definitely snag that up. That goes well with our deck. And yeah, I usually pick, even if I'm not going to play like that green card we picked up earlier, you kind of, if you're in green and you want to signal to your opponents that the color that you're in is not open, you don't want to just quote unquote hate draft and take a better card in a different color if you have no intention of playing it. Um, I think it's preferable to signal that color is not open. So we got in our color Rabid Bite. That's a great removal card as it's not a fight spell, so you don't have to worry about um, your other creature dying in the exchange. There's some good removal in the black with the Deadly Alliance, but we're nowhere near being in black right now. There is a Kite Sail Cleric. I mean, that's can be a good finisher with the kicker to tap two of their creatures down. But other than that, a 1/1 flyer is not anything that we're really interested in having in our deck right now. So we're definitely going to just snag up this Rabid Bite and see what happens. If the Kite Sail wheels, we might pick that up. And there's an Omnath. We'd almost be in a situation where we could go for that, but we'd have to go really heavy into mana fixing, and I just if you could get it out and have it start doing its thing, it could be good. But I think that's more of a something you play in standard, not limited. And we got a Canopy Baloth. That's a great for the landfall deck. There's also the Hellion, and the Thundering Rebuke is really good removal. Helen's good. You can pick up one of your double face cards, and it's a 4/5 for 5. But the Canopy Bailoff falls more in line with what we're trying to do, which is the green-white landfall. So we're going to pick that up here. And then we get past a Yasharn, and this is where being in the right seat pays off, as this is or pick 3, and we're getting past a good rare in our colors. We also have a Bala Ged Recovery, which is a great card, and a Journey to Oblivion. I feel like either of those will probably wheel. Um, but yeah, we're definitely going to grab Yasharn here and press on. Now here's an interesting pick. There's a Brushfire Elemental, which is great for the landfall. We're not super heavy into red yet. There's really not any other great. The bug catcher is really, it's good, but it's not what we're looking for because it focuses mainly on party effects, and we are not going to have much of a party effect going on in our deck. The Visionary's good, but I think the payoff for possibly getting into red is what splashing for red with the Brushfire Elemental may be good. Um, there's another Cleric again. That's nothing that we're going to prioritize. The Hellhound's another good landfall creature, especially if you get it down quickly. Um, but the Canopy Bailoff fits much better into our archetype right now, so we're going to grab that. The Akum Hellhound, and as you'll see at the end of this video, we actually don't end up running red. Um, and that's just because the green red is a lot more aggressive, and you want to curve out quickly with all these drops, and when you're running 3 colors you're less likely to be able to do that. So I think we just wanted to stick with the for sure thing. Now we get a Nahiri's Binding, good removal. I would definitely pick that if Fearless Fledgling wasn't also in the pack, because that again is another uh, really great card for a landfall deck. And again, I've lost many times with people just playing that turn 2 and just playing land, and not having anything to do with it. Now there's another Kazandu Stomper. Um, I was thinking about that, and this is Zendikar. It can be good with putting that on your double face land cards, and when it dies, you'll be able to get that land card back. But I think I was still somewhat thinking about splashing for red, um, and that's why I picked that up. Now, there's another Shepherd. I don't really have any desire to get another one of those. And there's also the Makindi Stampede, which is a decent double face card, but more times than not, you're just going to play that for the land. So we definitely want to take that Scythe Cat because it fits really well into the landfall category. Um, Nothing great in this pack. We're just going to pick up the combat trick. The Hellion kind of, again, made me somewhat more interested in possibly splashing red. Allied Assault isn't really a great combat trick for us because we don't have party. The one of the cards that I did think that was going to wheel did wheel, and honestly, I like this recovery for the double-faced card. Again, none of these are really anything I'm going to play. We're just going to grab the Farsight Adept, even though I don't even think it's a great card, even if you're in Wizards or whatever. You don't want your opponent drawing cards. So the Skycat pops out. The Reclaim the Waste pops out immediately for landfall payoffs. There's Synchronized Spellcraft. That's a very expensive removal for only 4 damage, and then it has a party upside. The Awakening, nothing that we're really interested in playing. And it goes with landfall. The only white card in this pack is the Farsight Adept, and that's not a card that I'm interested in playing. So we're gonna grab the Scythe Cat, which is a great pickup. So we're looking pretty good so far. We're thinking that we could possibly play these double-faced red cards to splash, to help splash for the rest of the cards. So it's definitely still an option. Um, the Vastwood Surge is the first thing that pops up as it allows you to get two basic lands and puts them onto the battlefield, so you get a double, or you have a potentially be able to do a triple landfall trigger on your turn, which can definitely overwhelm your opponent. The aesthetics, it's a fine, 5 drop. It's a 5/4 with a little life gain benefit. The Nectar Pot's not anything we're really interested in with gaining a life. So we have the Shelter. Well, we have the Felidar, which is fits into our landfall deck, but we're kind of getting a little heavy on 4 drops already. Um, and I think the Baloth and the Skycat are honestly a little bit better than the Felidar. Cleansing Wildfire is not terrible. I wouldn't want to take that over just to because we're not quite sure we're going to actually play red yet. But the Shelter I like. That can protect the Shaya or any of our other big creatures. We're getting another landfall payoff with the Canyon Jerboa. Um, the Tangled Flarahedron is also a good card. We're not as concerned about ramping, I don't think. So we're gonna get the Jerboa. That has a nice payoff to pump all your creatures when a land enters the battlefield. This pack is pretty dead for us. Only one green card, only one white card, and they're both nothing that we're super interested in. Uh, we don't have any kicker abilities, payoffs, so we're not super interested in that. Um, and we're kind of starting to realize we're probably not going to be playing white, but we do just grab the Molten for just in case we need some more removal. There's another Kazandu Stomper. I mean, one I think is all that I really need. This Vastwood Fortification um, is great because it has again, the double-faced land. You can play as land, pick it up later, and it can be a nice little combat trick for 1 mana if you do have it in your hand. Um, Now we're kind of looking at the Spitfire Legok. I mean, it's not a huge payoff for landfall. Um, and then there's also the aesthetic. I can't remember the aesthetic, the 5/4. We just grabbed that Turn Timber aesthetic. Uh, and then we get the Skyclave Pickaxe. Normally I wouldn't play this in any other green deck, but with the landfall trigger on that, especially if you're able to put that on the Fearless Fledgling, that could get out of hand very quickly. Um, Again, nothing of note in this pack. Just the combat trick. Farsight Adept again is just, I don't like my opponents to draw cards, so we're not gonna grab that. There's a Nectar Pot, and colony there. We just grab the Nectar Pot. Probably might play it, might not. And again, just grab the green card. Cheap combat trick that we probably won't play. And another colony. And another Nectar Pot. I mean, even if it does have a landfall trigger and it gains you a 1 life every time you play a land. So, I mean, it's not unplayable, but the landfall payoff for that is a little underwhelming compared to some of the other cards. So now we're trying to figure out if we want to splash red to mainly play Brushfire Elemental. I mean, I would play all the red cards that I have if I did end up splashing. It's just the fact that like Brushfire Elemental, you're gonna want to get out early, and hitting that curve and hitting those 2 lands is a little bit more difficult. And I'm more interested in getting Fearless Fledgling out than Brushfire Elemental, and that way I also just don't have to worry about fixing um, at all. But I think I do I mess I get my I'm gonna get my lands, my double face lands, figure out how many lands I'm actually running. And when it comes to landfall, I'm fine with running a heavy amount of lands because I'm gonna want those landfall triggers, and with the Maraza Root Grazer, if I get that out, I'm gonna be able to play basically play 2 lands a turn if I'm getting those if I'm getting those lands in my hand, and it'll keep you from getting flooding. I did forget about that I did have that uh, that caster, that 1/4 with reach. That's really not anything I want in my deck, so I do have an extra card that I need to fill. So I'm just kind of contemplating possibly splashing again. I kind of want to think about that, but then I realized that maybe just the nectar pot. Um, it's a fine blocker, and it's also reasonable to gain a life for every land that could possibly help out in a long game situation. Um, but yeah, I do like the Hellion though, to be able to take back a land. Um, but I think this is the build that we're gonna go with. I do I do I'm a little light on removal, and that's the only thing that I'm kind of contemplating with the Fury and the Spike Field Hazard. I'm gonna just kind of see what it looks like to have these cards in, um, and then I just immediately change my mind because I have the ambush, I have the Rabid Bite, um, and I have the Blight Blight Blade, and I'm kind of just hedging my bets on being able to overwhelm my opponent with larger creatures and not really have to worry as much about removing theirs. Um, but yeah, that's uh, that's the deck. I think we were able to get in the correct seat for the archetype. Um, green white landfall. We got paid off with a lot of the signpost cards for that, and yeah. Again, thanks for watching. Um, Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see some more videos like this. Leave a comment below if you maybe would have made a different pick, build a different deck. We'd love to discuss that with you guys, and hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you next time.